The following podcast is brought to you on behalf of the Saracens Supporters Association and is not an official product of Saracens Limited. Views expressed on the Fezcast are those of the individuals and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Saracens Limited, the Saracens Supporters Association, Saracens Mavericks, or any other entity. The Fezcast is designed to be inclusive for the whole Saracens family, however occasional adult content may evade the censoring robots, so discretion is advised. Content provided voluntarily by our guests and contributors are of their own opinion, which may change over time and should not be taken as fact, particularly as the podcast hosts are regularly talking drivel anyway. If you've got some drivel of your own you'd like to share, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Fezcast_SSA. You can search Facebook for the Fezcast, or you can email fezcast.ssa@outlook.com.
It's the Fezcast with Matt Bartlett and Jez Denson in association with the Saracen Supporters Association.
Well, welcome to another edition of the Fezcast with me, Jez Denson and Matt Bartlett. And first up, we've got a very special guest, which we will talk about a little bit later on. For this Fezcast, absolute superstar of the game and a top interview. So that's something to look forward to. But hi, Matt. How you doing, mate?
I am okay. I'm okay. Yeah, we've just done an interview with a fantastic interview, I think, with a very great player. But now I'm sitting here seething with jealousy that everyone gets to be at a final down in Worcester. You're sitting in hospitality. I might be knee deep in a pond at work. So. You know.
There you go. Well, these are the sacrifices you have to make. But I mean, I tell you, you've been at work all weekend as well. There's been no rugby on, so I mean, I watched a bit of the Challenge Cup final, Wigan and Huddersfield Giants, and bit of football on and everything like that. Nottingham Forest going up, which is my two stepsons are happy with that one. So, but yeah, no, you had a weekend of work.
Yeah, my weekend is Monday, Tuesday normally, which is why the Fezcast goes out when it does, because one of us has actually got time to do something about it. But yeah, I do have the Saturday off for the semi-final of the men's game, which is good, and possibly even the final as well. But we'll see. Brilliant,
excellent. And I just went out and did a park run PB on a Saturday, and then did a 10k PB yesterday in Alcester, so that's all good, and that's after a Negroni and IPAs and 2/3 of a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc on Friday night, which is pretty good value for money. But I did say there wasn't any rugby. What we do need to say is congratulations to two ex-Saracens second rows, Joel Capocco and Will Skelton, who've got European silverware this weekend.
I have indeed, yeah, and two very, very good performances as well from once I finally managed to watch the highlights over the weekend. And yeah, especially for Joel Capocco, who obviously made a very, very brave decision to leave Saracens partway through a season and try something new. And probably had a bit of a slow start, to be honest, with his career over in France. But yeah, like some of our players have done in the past, like Will Skelton and Alex Azovsky as well, have really grown into the season and had a fantastic match. For that Challenge Cup final, which pretty gutting we didn't get to play against him really, but there we go. And yeah, Will Skelton just keeps getting better, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that he can't get back into that Australian squad. But I will mention, and I will say, because I got into a bit of a Twitter spat with a few South Africans on the weekend, a Facebook spat. Yeah, nice to see Luke Pearce refereeing Etienne Estebev correctly, although he should have been probably red carded for his clear out on the young winger, which I felt was just bang out of order. And that is Estebev's game, isn't it? That if he can run around being a bully and get away with it, then he'll look, he will influence games. You get a strong referee who penalises him, then he suddenly loses all of these because he hasn't got much else to his game. I don't personally believe. So, well done to Joel Capocco for standing up to him. But, such is.
I'm saying nothing.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm saying this, next season when we sign Estebev,
he'll be the best player in the world.
Oh, best player in the world. I used to say the same about Jim Hamilton, to be perfectly honest with you, but there you go. But
just imagine Estebev and Itoje in the second row, because everyone hates both of them apart from Saracens and South Africa fans. Penalty merchants all round. What on earth is going to happen there? anyway.
Oh, yeah, that's it. I mean, personally, if we were to sign a second row from the world, I'd want Brodie Retallick next to Maro Itoje, because I think that would be pretty damn unstoppable. But look, let's get on with the main bones of the Fezcast. We alluded to it earlier on. If you've seen the advertising that's gone out, you'll know who we've got coming up. But she's the Red Roses Player of the Year, the Allianz 15's Player of the Year. She's bang on probably for Saracens Player of the Year. More Player of the Match awards than anybody else. Top try scorer in the league. Marlie Packer is joining us to talk about her life away from rugby, but also looking forward to the Chiefs final on Friday at Worcester, which Matt's not going to, and I'm going in hospitality because I'm posh, apparently. So we'll have a word from one of our sponsors, and then we'll have the interview with Marlie Packer.
This is the Fezcast.
Hi, I'm Alex Lewington, and I'm a Looseheads ambassador.
I'm Sydney Gregson, and I'm a Looseheads ambassador.
Our aim is to tackle the stigma of mental health in rugby and society in general.
The Looseheads mission is to place a mental health lead at every rugby club. Get in touch now to find out more.
You can find us at Looseheads on all social media channels or at looseheads.co.uk.
Take care and enjoy the rest of the podcast.
Enjoy the rest of the pod.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
Well, we'd like to welcome to the Fezcast an absolute superstar of the game, I think it's fair to say. Someone who has been gaining plaudits this year, has had a very successful Red Roses year and also a fantastic year with Saracens. Welcome to the Fezcast, Marlie Packer. How are you today, Marlie?
Morning, guys. I'm good. Thank you very much. Looking forward to it.
Well, that's excellent, Marlie. And thank you for joining us. And had a weekend off. I take it, sort of kick back, relax a little bit, ready for a big semi-final on Friday. Oh, big final even, sorry.
Relax too much. We actually had a session on Sunday up at OA's, which was nice. All the girls come together, and then we had a barbecue afterwards. So it was nice to spend some time together, like as a squad, but in different environments, because we do a lot of our training all at StoneX. Just because obviously some of the girls are professional, but majority of the team are go to work, so we only train in the evening. So we train at StoneX. So it's nice to do a day session and in a different environment.
Oh, wonderful. Well, look, we're going to get on and talk all about your season, your career, and obviously looking forward to the final against Chiefs on Friday in Worcester. But before we do that, we're going to initiate you into our Hall of Fame for Club Cult Heroes. It's something that we do with players who we think epitomise what it is to be a Saracens player. And congratulations, Marlie, you're the first Saracens woman to be made a Club Cult Hero. And a former guest on the Fezcast, Jo Peake, she's done a little piece all about you, just saying why she thinks you deserve to be a Club Cult Hero. So we'll just play that in now.
The Fezcast, Saracens Club Cult Hero Hall of Fame.
Where do you start when you only have 5 minutes to highlight the many qualities of Saracens and England Red Roses legend Marlie Packer? She's got a Women's Rugby World Cup winners medal from 2014, been capped 80 times by the Red Roses, numerous Women's Six Nation wins and Grand Slam accolades, and 2 Premier 15 titles to her name. All which together and separately are impressive honours. But for the Sarries fans, it's not these achievements that is the reason why Packer is so revered. The first thing you can rely on Marlie for is for bringing the noise. She wears her passion on her sleeve, and that can be heard across the field, with the odd expletive thrown in for good measure. Seeing her co-captain for some of this season, it's clear the squad respect her drive for perfection on the pitch. As fans, we can always guarantee that you will see Marlie's work rate as one of the highest in the team. Not only is she a top tackler and jackal at the ruck, she's a try-scoring machine that just never gives up. All of this whilst remaining disciplined and not getting many cards in the process, such as Marlie's positive attitude. Naturally, this has resulted in more player of the match performances for Saracens and England than I've had hot dinners. It's what the fans love to see, and it doesn't seem to matter where you pay her across the back row. Packer just excels. But the true quality of this amazing woman is making sure she gets to speak to as many of the fans post-game as she can, always with a smile on her face and thanking all of us for coming out to watch and support. Like it isn't an honour and privilege that us fans get to watch her dominate every single week. Adults admire her skill and passion for the game. Kids just love Packer, and you can see the excitement on their faces as she walks down the line, signing all the autographs and taking all the photos. If someone were to ask me who epitomises the club values of honesty, humility, work rate and discipline every single week, Marlie Packer would be the first on my list. Packer is a Saracens legend and a Fezcast cult heroine, and we can't wait to see what happens next for her. Whatever it will be amazing. Best of luck for the Premier 15 final to Marlie and the entire Saracens women's squad, coaching and management teams.
The Fezcast, Saracens Club Cult Hero Hall of Fame.
Well, there you go, Marlie. Congratulations, a club cult hero. And as Joe said, you know, you do epitomise what it is to be a Saracen, but also that the things that you've developed over your career as leadership, being a very vocal voice on the pitch, and the cause of some consternation to commentators recently. They've had to apologise to you on a couple of occasions, but I mean, it just shows your passion for Saracens. I mean, tell us all about why Saracens and what it brings out of you to put on that black shirt.
I think it's just the winning mentality here, the drive to be the best that we can possibly be. And that comes from within ourselves, but as the group in pushing to be the best. Obviously, we've got a culture where, like, you've got a wolf pack and we're all together. We all have one goal, but how we get there is different for every individual. And that's very apparent in the women's game, just because, like I've said previously, some of us are full-time, but some of us are actually professional. For me, I'm very privileged that I am a full-time professional rugby player. But the likes of Sonia Green, May Campbell, those players that go to work and then come out and put performance in week out for us. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. So yeah, credit to those kind of guys. But that's what it means to play for Saracens. When you put that shirt on, you want to leave it in a better place, and yeah, and we do it together.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's brilliant to see the performances that put out there. And I mean, I suppose it brings us to the next question. We'll look forward to the final coming up, but we'll just go back a few weeks now. And we had May Campbell on a couple of weeks ago with Joe, actually, and in the immediate aftermath of the Wasps game, but more so the Exeter Chiefs game, where, you know, she was very honest. And I think that's another thing that comes out of all of you guys, is that your honesty is amazing. And she turned around and said that Exeter Chiefs was an embarrassment. And, you know...
May.
Yeah. and, you know, that's fair enough. And that's what us as fans want to hear, is that honesty. Wasps, again, you looked at it, you thought, oh, hang on a second. And you had a bit of handbags with Bryony as well. And I mean, which, you know, obviously there was a spark there, but you got the result. And then you've come out against Quins in the semi-final, who, you know, the final from the last two or three finals, and you put out a performance there. Watching it, I watched it at home. Matt, you were at the game, weren't you?
I was indeed.
Yeah.
It was... I could hear some of the tackles coming in from the stands, which was something. But yeah.
But you looked at it, you thought you were never really in trouble. You'd stepped up again, and you'd realised the importance of that game, and that whole winning mentality came through.
Yeah, and I think that's the bit about it. Like, we're at the back end of the season now. This is where it all matters. It's knockout rugby. So semi-final, finals, like, you need to win those games, because like to push on. Obviously, from the semi-final, we knew Harlequins were going to be tough, but last time we played them at StoneX, they got the win on us. But we needed to make sure that this is a hard place to come and beat Saracens women and even Saracens men as well. So actually to put on a performance like we did, like the crowd got behind us. We had over 2,000 people in the stadium, which was the best crowd we've had, and the players really vibed off of that. You just knew in the warm-up like something special was going to happen today. Like everyone was on it. Like it's our best warm-up of the season. So yeah, for me as a leader, but like to be a part, like just to be playing in that, you just knew it was going to be a good day. Like when we talk about May and looking back at like the Exeter game and an honesty thing, like we got to take it into where we were in the season. Like the internationals have been off, so like the Welsh, English, Scottish internationals have all gone off and played in the Six Nations, and in that time the squad were together playing in cup games, but we had a lot of time apart. Whereas if you look at, say, a team like Exeter, they didn't lose any of their players for international duties. They all still trained, played together, played in the cup, which they played really well and won the cup. They're scattered with internationals, but they're not English internationals. So actually in the Six Nations, they didn't lose that core group that keeps driving every player. So I think coming off the back of that, the players, like you said, May said, like they were like embarrassed about the way they performed. Actually take it into context of where we were in the season. For me, watching it, it was hard to watch because that's not Saracens' way. I think that's probably our biggest scoreline against us. But you know, when you I don't know, injure a wolf, they come back fighting. Like that's, you hurt our pride, but you know, we're not down and out because of that one game. I think over the season we've lost 2 games in the domestic league. We top the table. Like every now and then you might take your foot off the gas, but it's then how we get back on that. Like the Wasps game. Yeah, tough first half. What, they put 20 points on us in the first half. I think we scored 1 try. Sometimes we are a team when our back's against the wall, we come out fighting, and like you could say we did that in the second half, but I think it was the last 10 minutes of the second half we scored 2-3 tries. And we make sure that when the final comes, that we're on it from the off, just like the semi-final, and make sure that our final wasn't that semi-final against Harlequins.
Yeah, I mean, we've said a few times, both the men's and women's rugby teams, it's a very strange thing to say, but we do actually seem to lose games at the right time. It's always just before the big one. We always feel like we're getting that loss out of the way.
Yeah, I'm saying that, but I need to make sure that we don't lose the big one. Like in the women's new era of this league is that it's a different final. It's not Sarries Harlequins, it's Saracens Exeter, and what a rivalry that is, because in the men's game it's massive. So you know, to have it now in the women's is, it's great, and it just shows like how much hard work they're doing down there as well. Like I'd say about they're scattered with internationals, but they're not English internationals. But I think it's still pushing the league. It's still making the league the best league it is in the world, in my opinion.
Sorry, Jez. We've had several players on from different areas on the show, and they all seem to bite their tongue a little bit when we start talking about the Saracens Exeter rivalry. But for yourself, being from Yeovil down the road, do you have the same sort of feeling, or is it a bit more easygoing?
I think the rivalry is definitely a lot higher in the men's game than what it is in the women's game. Like there is a rivalry there, and obviously for me as a Saracens player, like that there's no team I want to beat more than what everyone says the underdogs or the up and coming team. So yeah, that challenge is there. But yeah, like a lot of my family come from Exeter. I come from Yeovil, which is 45 minutes away from Exeter. Like it doesn't change anything. Like I'm a Saracens player. I'm there to do a job. Like I spoke to my nan on the phone the other day, and she goes, "Oh, I see you're playing Exeter in the final. I won't support them this time, but I'm glad they're doing well," kind of thing. So, you know, my family's got my back on that one.
Well, it's an interesting thing you say there, Marlie, because I can't remember. I've just been looking through my my gallery on my phone because I did screenshot it. I can't find it, but the player, I can't remember which player it was from Chiefs who was interviewed after the semi-final. But the comment was, "We love Saracens. We love to knock down the top dog." Has that done kind of like your team talk for you for Friday a little bit?
It's a very bold comment, isn't it? Let's put it like. And at the end of the day, that's what they feel like. But I don't feel like you can say that about Saracens. Knocking off Saracens is a hard job to do. And let's be honest, they've only done it down at their place. They've never done it anywhere else. We'll see. It's a very bold comment. Yeah, it does talk. And there was a little bit of chat around it. But, if that's what they think, that's what they think.
I suppose it leads back as well, though, Marlie, to ask the question I wanted to ask, which is, the Exeter Chiefs game came right at the end of the Six Nations period. You, Poppy, weren't playing in that game. You'd had earns a week or two off. But, losing players, even though you don't play league games during that Six Nations period, but Saracens lose 3-4 players, 5 players maybe to international call-ups during that period. Is it you can't just come straight back in and hit the same levels? Presumably there must, you've had different coaching at England than perhaps you get at Saracens. You're playing with different players. You're playing with no disrespect to the likes of May and everything, who don't play internationals, who aren't fully professional and go to work each day. You spend 6 weeks playing with players who are at exactly the same level, professional. Yeah. Surely there's a period of time when to integrate back into the club from international. And
it can be. Yeah, it does take a period of time. Like so me and Poppy, we came back with knocks from international duty, so that's why we got held up in coming back in. So we needed to make sure that was right. And when we did come back in, that we needed to make sure it was right for Saracens as well. Like we knew we had topped the league by the end of Six Nations. So actually it was making sure that everyone was on making sure that everyone was performing at the right time. So whether that was the Wasps game or it was the semi-final game, like we obviously lost Zoe Harrison to to Six Nations as well. But the likes of like Hannah Bottomer and Holly Aitchison that have come back in. Then we lost Georgia, the Welsh. Donna Rose picked up an injury in Six Nations. So all those, it's just tinkering with things. So maybe if you lose 1 or 2 players, it's not too bad. But when you start losing a few more, or people are on managed minutes, it's a lot more of a toll on the team. And coming back from Six Nations, where everyone's full-time, everyone's on it, everyone knows their own role and their own responsibility, to come back to club, there's nothing, I'm not taking away from any player not knowing their role or not being on it 100%, because that everyone wants to be that, but it is a lot different than being at an international.
Well, that brings me on to my next question, Marlie, in so much as let's focus on you personally as a rugby player, and now with your family. And we've seen a few things in the press on BBC Sport and interviews you've done outside, where you're making a big differentiation between what goes on the pitch and in your private life. You've got your young family now and everything. One that saw a lovely photograph of you stood by, was it by the beach or whatever? And I mean, how do you now separate, and how has that helped you as a person and as a player with these new responsibilities? And
yeah, I think when you have a kid, perspective on life changes. Everything goes to them, and I think that's very much changed for me. I've been a professional rugby player since 2014, which I feel very lucky and privileged to be in that, because in the women's game it's not been a big thing for very long. And I probably never learned to switch off properly. I was always worried about my fitness or my nutrition, how I looked and stuff like that. So I'd go to work, training each day, and then I'd come home and I'd not switch off from it, and I live with rugby players, so then we'd talk about it and go out for dinner and we'd still be talking about rugby instead of other bits and pieces. So I think the change when obviously having Oliver, that wasn't the case anymore. When I come home from work, it's not I just forgot about rugby, but he comes first, and making sure that bath and bedtime's done right and all his needs are met, and then not I come second, but I do, and then it's my needs after that, and as a rugby player. So I just think the switch is very good for me, and yeah, it seems to have worked well this season. people say to me, "You're having the best season of your career," and I'm like, "Well, no, I think I have played just as well as this before, but it's just not been picked up so much." But I'll take it. I'll take this as the best season.
Well, it's funny you say that. I mean, I think it's probably something we could look at the men's game, look at Owen Farrell and the way that he's playing with a smile on his face these days, and with almost a different perspective. He doesn't seem 100% intense, although he has got that intensity. And I think fatherhood's probably brought that out in the same way as parenthood for yourself as Marlie.
I think as well, it's like you can be so tunnel vision on rugby. You want to be the best. You want to perform for the team, and that side of it is very tunnel vision. And like for me, for years and years, rugby was first, and everything else came second. And I've missed loads of family occasions, like every other rugby player, in so many events. But I feel like now I can switch from that tunnel vision to actually, life outside of rugby. And I do feel like I play with a smile on my face, but I don't feel like I ever didn't, because the thing is about rugby, I love playing rugby. I don't love all the gym and the fitness sessions and the waking up earlys in the mornings to do stuff. Like, that's not a bit of me. Like, you talk about doing a 10K park run, that's not a bit of me. But when I retire, I'll have to do that. But what I'm saying is, like, I love playing rugby, and rugby has given me so much in life, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. Like, I've managed to travel the world, which I probably would have never done if it wasn't for rugby. I've met people that I would have never met, that I've done things that like only people could dream of. And I look back at me as a kid in Yeovil, that actually some of the stuff I've done is pretty amazing, and I never thought I would have done it. And that rugby's done that for me. So when I do retire, like things like that, I would love to give back to the game.
Oh, absolutely.
One of the best quotes I've read from you recently, Marlie, I can't remember which article I was reading, but it was like you saying, well, you come home from a match with a black eye and a bloody nose and a cut to the head, and you get no sympathy anymore because Tash can just turn around and go, well, you haven't given birth. So
it's very true. I do remember saying that. Yeah, and that's the thing. And I don't know, I was obviously there for that experience, but so I don't get any sympathy anymore. No, I always moan about it, but I don't get any sympathy.
Well, now we talk about travelling the world, Marlie, and obviously this year is a huge year internationally. As I say, you've come off a very successful Red Roses campaign in the Six Nations. The Six Nations, which is becoming more and more competitive. We've seen this year as teams such as Wales have progressed with their work towards professionalism. There were some very hard games. The Welsh game, the first half of that Welsh game was pretty intense, I felt. But obviously now you're building to a World Cup. You've got a World Cup winners medal already. You know, that's obviously after the final, that's going to be the focus. What happens after the final, before the World Cup? Are you going to be having some time away from rugby to recharge, or is it back into that build up to that World Cup again?
So obviously we've got the final coming up, and then we will have like 4 weeks deload. We get 5 weeks, but because of where the World Cup sits in the calendar, we've got 4 weeks. So the first 2 weeks will be a completely like rest, like switch off completely. And that's for both staff and players. So they won't contact us, we won't contact them, and it'd be literally a time to just chill out. And then the next 2 weeks is about starting to rebuild. So we do light sessions, light running sessions, just to get the load back in. And then after those 2 weeks, we will do an intense 4 weeks pre-season at Bath University with the Red Roses, which will be the start of our World Cup, like proper prep going into that, and then it will just go on from then until we go out to New Zealand. Fingers crossed that we make the plane, but yeah.
Well, I'm sure you will do, Marlie, obviously, you know, but I mean, we wish you all the luck there. I mean, New Zealand, a great place to play rugby. The almost religious fervour that they have for the game down there, and I mean, I've been down to New Zealand and watched a few games down there, and it is absolutely amazing. I mean, obviously, you can't not look forward to playing down there. But also, I mean, is there now pressure on you? You are going into that as favourites. You've beaten everybody and anybody in the world over the last 18 months. Is that pressure beginning to build, or is it just something you don't focus on one little bit?
I think for me personally, it's not something I don't think about. Like when people says like how many winning streaks we've got, or like we've beat, like you said, then we've beaten every team in the world in the last couple of years. It's nice to hear, but I generally don't think of it like that, because and it's cliche, but every game you've got to take it as it is and where we are at as a squad. Autumn internationals, getting the back-to-back win on New Zealand was fantastic, but when we go out to that World Cup, one, we don't know where we're going to meet them to, as in either in the semis, quarters or final. And then also the other bit about it as well is they're a very different team now. They've got a new coaching staff. A lot of their sevens players are now signed up to their 15s league over there. So they're obviously pushing that, and like that's what we want in the women's game, because we want the best players to be playing in that capacity of a World Cup. The world, like that's going to be the world stage at that time. So I think we just need to worry about in-house. We need to get through this pre-season and make sure we carry on with the way this group feels, because it's not about sometimes how we play, it's how we are with each other, striving to be the best, pushing each other to be the best, and that's what then will come together on match day and make us win.
Well, absolutely, and as we say, all the best luck for that and everything going forward. Looks like you're going to be busy for the next few months, and then after that, I'm not saying I'm not offering up retirement or anything, but you've had a long career in rugby, and you are a senior member of that squad and the Saracens squad. I mean, how are you developing yourself as a person? Are you looking at becoming a coach maybe, or that side of things? Do you enjoy bringing on younger players in the team? We've seen some really good young players coming through at both Saracens and England that obviously we look to experienced players like yourself and Sarah Hunter and whatever to bring them on. I mean, how do you enjoy that side of your?
Yeah, for me, like bringing on younger players, like you want to leave the shirt in the best place, but you also, the next person that goes fills that shirt, you want them to be in the best position they can be in to fill it. Like obviously Vicky Fleetwood, we played together for a long time. We've competed for that 7 shirt for a few years now. And then obviously we've got Sadia Kabea coming up through. Like much knowledge I can give to her, I will do. But for me, right now, that shirt, I want to make sure I'm number one. I'm picked for it. So that's what I worry about there. As in retirement, look, I'm still really enjoying playing. My body's still going. I feel like this is the most amount of league games I've played in a season for a very long time. So I'm in a really good place as a person, like physically and mentally. So right now, while I'm enjoying it, I'm not thinking about that kind of stuff. Obviously it's there. Everyone says I'm an older senior player now, but until someone decides that I'm not going to play anymore, or my body decides I'm not going to, then I'll take that bridge then. But I'm not thinking about that, talking about that at the moment. It's just about here and now and the World Cup coming up.
Well,
we only need to look at the Rocky Clarks and the Sonia Greens of the world to know you've got plenty left in the
Can't be that old, mind. In the nicest possible way.
There's definitely 2 more World Cups in you. Don't worry about that.
But look, if you look at it, 2025, that's 2 and a bit years away. It's not long. It's a home World Cup. Like it'd be something very, very special to play in that. But it's got to be right for everyone. It's got to be right for the Red Roses, and that's first and foremost. It's got to be right for me as a person and a player, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, I'd love to do that. Well, sitting here, I'd love to do that.
Well, absolutely. Well, that's brilliant, Marlie. Look, thank you ever so much for joining us on the Fedscast. We will say, obviously, huge amounts of luck. Not that we believe you need it. We know that you're going to go out there on Friday and present the best picture of Saracens, both as an individual and as a team. I'll be there shouting from the hospitality. My dad's organised hospitality for Friday. You get parking and meals and everything. It's superb. Sounds like a really good deal. So I'll be there shouting. Matt's going to be at work, but obviously, that's the way it goes. But look, Marlie, please pass on our best wishes to the team and to the squad, and say we're all behind you here at the Fezcast and Saracen Supporters Association, everything. And we're really looking forward to seeing you play on Friday.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me as well, guys.
Oh, absolutely. And congratulations on your Player of the Year award as well. Obviously slightly less prestigious than our Club Cult Hero award.
No, I'll take that. Thank you very much. No, thank you.
So we've got Player of the Year award, Club Cult Hero, World Cup win, Freedom of Yeovil. Is that right? That order upwards?
Say that order. We can say that order.
Did you ever get Plumber of the Year award anywhere, Marlie? Or when you
just got leaky award a year.
Well, thank you ever so much for joining us, Marlie. As I say, best of luck for Friday. We know that you guys are going to really perform at your very best and bring that Premiership trophy home where it belongs. Quinn don't have it on loan, obviously.
Yes, thank you.
No worries. Thank you very much.
This is the Fezcast.
Hi, this is Jez from the Fezcast to tell you about another one of my passions. I love music, and I have my own radio podcast station, Tarka Blowpig Radio. This is the home of great music presented by myself and my friends, be it folk, rock, indie anthems, progressive music, you name it, we've got it covered. So if you want to listen to some great music, tune into us at mixcloud.com/Tarka Blowpig.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
Well, that was a wonderful interview there with Marlie Packer. As I say, fully deserving of her Club Cult Hero Award that we've given her. And thank you very much to Joe Peake for that little wonderful piece about Marlie and what she brings to Saracens. But yeah, wonderful talking to her. Very illuminating again, Matt, didn't you think?
Very, yeah. No, it's good to speak to her about things outside of rugby as well. Obviously, Marlie was very quick to mention a few times, obviously, the fact that she's a professional player, very lucky to be a professional women's player and earning a decent wedge out of it. Is still nowhere near what a professional men's player gets, but enough to build a career on full time and be able to have a family outside of that. And, the differences between herself being able to train full time and the wider Saracen squad that don't. It's always very illuminating to hear people who've got that perspective. And her career has gone from an entirely amateur game all the way up to, like we say, her professional and one of the best players in the world, which we didn't want to say to her because she'd probably dismiss it. But she is clearly one of the better players in the world and fully deserving of that professional contract. But yeah, also very, very grounded, even more so by the fact that she has a young family. So, yeah, very fascinating.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I hope everybody listening into the Fezcast enjoyed that as much as we enjoyed putting it together and interviewing Marlie. Couple of parish notices before we finish up. We really ought to mention the Mavs, Saracens Mavericks, who had, I suppose, a disappointing end to the season, and there's some news come out of the camp, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, we've sort of kept an eye on the season as we've gone along. Anyone that's sort of seen the team news coming out, there has been a bit of a churn in the squad. Unfortunately, a lot of injuries throughout the season. Players having to leave and new players coming in and getting injured themselves. So it's been a tricky season, and unfortunately, not for the first time over the last 4 or 5 years, falling just short of the playoffs in fifth place, I believe. And unfortunately, the news from Sunday or Monday, I believe it was. I'm losing track of what day of the week we are now, but Kat Ratnapala, who's been on the show with us quite a few times, has chosen to leave her post as the director of netball at the Mavericks. Been there a long time as part of the club, well over a decade, 5 years or so at the helm. But it's time for something new, unfortunately. So yeah, from our side, I think we wish Kat all the very best, and personally, thank you for being on 3 or 4 Fez casts as we've got going, and being very patient with us when we get everything about netball wrong, including calling the court a pitch. She's very well respected around the game, and we can see that very clearly in the work she's done with us. So yeah, Kat, all the very best.
Absolutely, I ditto from me as well. Now, last thing to mention, obviously, as well, is, as you alluded to in the last Fezcast with Colin Garrett, one of the open secrets is that Baz Barrington is taking his boombox over to France to play his trade from next year. And, as I say, open secret, it's probably... fully expected that Baz was going to move on. A great servant for the club, a club cult hero, as we awarded him last year. And I will say that I am working with Ollie at the club. We're going to try and get Baz as a guest before he leaves. We'll do our absolute best to get that organised if we can. No promises at the moment because, he's still working on that one. But yeah, he's going to be hugely missed, is Baz, isn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. Off pitch, on pitch, everything. He's just one of those players. There's a very real reason why he was early induction into the club cult hero case, because it was, when he first joined the club, he was some bloke from Jersey who we've picked up to sit in the squad behind the likes of Mako Vunipola and Rhys Gill. And over the course of a decade, he's become a fantastic servant and fully deserving of 150 appearances, something like that, I think, which, yeah, really, really great to have him around. He will be missed, and, always will epitomise that Saracens ethos, I think.
Absolutely, and missed not only by Saracens fans, players, coaches and everything, but also the sellers of peroxide in and around North London and Hertfordshire, because he kept them in business for years, hasn't he?
Yeah, them and Guinness, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he's a slight throwback, isn't he, to previous times. But good news coming into the club to see a returnee, Christian Judge. The Judge is back, which is great news, bolstering that front row options again.
Yeah, he's someone, actually, I think we were all quite disappointed when he joined us on loan initially, that we were disappointed we couldn't keep him. Very understandable. He'd sort of suddenly shot from Cornish Pirates, coming on loan to Saracens, and I think his ideal was to stay a bit closer to home, which is why in the end he signed for Bath and then went on to Worcester. But obviously enjoyed his time here with us previously. So yeah, great to have him back and as part of the squad. And one of my favourite memories, actually, from a couple of years ago was Christian Judge found himself playing in a European fixture in the Heineken Cup, and 5 metres away from the try line with ball in hand and no one in front of him, and the look on his face of sheer shock and surprise as he flopped himself over the try line, I won't forget that. It's absolutely brilliant. So hopefully we get many more of those memories as well. Absolutely.
Well, time to wrap this show up. Fantastic stuff again. As I say, thank you to Marlie Packer for joining us and doing a wonderful interview. Thanks to you, Matt, again, and obviously thanks to everybody listening in. Our next show will be next Tuesday, 7th of June, available on your normal podcast suppliers from 6 a.m. So, and hopefully, keep your eyes on our social media, see what we've got coming up on that show. But until then, all the best and ta-ra.
Yes, folks.
This is the Fezcast.